Welcome to the From Grief to Relief show on WCOBM.com. I am Joe Peroni.
And I'm Heidi Mancini.
What would you like to talk about today? You get some announcements?
Well, first off, we want to thank Frank Scandora III, President of Frank's European Service, for sponsoring the From Grief to Relief show. And also we want to thank Jay Young from City Athletic Club. He's also a sponsor of the From Grief to Relief show. And also wanted to remind people that Joe is a trainer at City Athletic Gym. So if you're looking for a personal trainer to train you, get you in a diet, he starts from the novice person just wanting to lose some weight and get in shape to high-level competitors. And he also does posing. So if you're going to compete,
well, I help them pose.
He helps them pose.
I'm not going to just pose.
And
there are trainers like that, though.
What's that?
That they want all the spotlight to themselves.
Of course they do, but it's because they're ego-driven. There's a difference when you care about the client and when you care about yourself. He's also a marriage and family counselor, MFTI. He's at his internship, so he's working on your hours, right?
Oh yeah.
But you can counsel people.
Absolutely.
And he's also the author of the book From Grief to Relief, which is available at Amazon.com, and you can also download that book if you'd like to read it. So check it out; it's a good read. I guess I'll plug myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've been a hairdresser
I've been a hairdresser for like 27 years. I do women's wellness coaching at City Athletic Club.
You don't need to see that. You know who you are.
Okay, I know. What else do I do? I'm a competitor, NPC, physique competitor now. So I wouldn't say I moved up. People say, have you moved up a division? I go, no, it's not moving up. It's just
different.
Different than what I was doing before. So I'm doing that. And I'm also the co-host of the From Grief to Relief show, and I handle all the social media part of our show.
It's almost 4 years now.
Almost 4 years. And then, of course, Joe's the writer of the show, so we work together to bring you great information every week. Our show has authentic information to help people and their families. We don't talk gossip. We're not an infomercial here. So our show is about inspiring people, sharing people's stories, hopefully helping people overcome, adversity and problems in their lives, and knowing they're not alone, because we all go through stuff, but we usually don't talk about it. So our show is about that.
Perfect. Shall we start?
Yeah.
Today, Heidi wanted to do a show on nutrition.
Yes.
So I said doing a show on nourishing the body and nourishing the brain. Now, it's awfully odd because my first degree is actually in corporate fitness, and I've been doing diets and training since I was 12 years old, something like that. Obviously that wasn't professional then. But then I went to school for that, so I've been in the business for 30 years. So when we do a lot of our shows, we tend not to talk about nutrition and the training, because to me it's almost too easy. It's a little boring for me. And I just kind of assume that everybody knows what a good diet is.
No.
Because there's so much information out there. But then I looked up some stuff just for fun. Again, there is a lot of information out there. Unfortunately, most of it's wrong because people are trying to sell things.
People are trying to sell things, and then the consumer is also looking for wiggle room. They want that easy fix to being healthy and everything. And so you've got the salespeople out there that are selling junky, chemical-loaded foods that our bodies cannot process. That's why there's so many allergies now to gluten. Now you hear gluten allergies, this allergy. Kids have hypersensitivity, and most of that is due to the fact that of all the preservatives that we're putting in our foods now to mass produce food, because we don't have enough resources on our planet anymore to feed everybody. So the government has decided that we need to make cost food that's cheap to feed the people that we have to feed. And they've also done a lot of scientific studies on it, and they have the studies are so in depth that they went back to the caveman period,
right?
And they studied how cavemen ate, and it's basically following a paleo diet, which you can explain it a little bit later. But they realized that the taste that we're programmed to taste are salt and sugars from our fruits, and salts from meats, proteins, which goes way back to the caveman time. But what the scientists figured out was, well, we'll just mass produce food, but we're going to make it more sugarier. We're going to put more salt in the food, and when you taste these flavors, they're so intense and they're so awesome, it triggers your brain.
True.
It lights up. Your brain lights up almost like if you're on drugs. And
No, like exactly
it
like
does.
it is drugs.
So again, I mean,
Insulin
somebody
is a
said,
drug.
was that a conspiracy? And I said, well, I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory. I don't want to even go there with that, but I just know that they've figured out a way to mass produce food, and most of the food out there that people are eating is not healthy. Most
True.
of it. So I want to do a show on that because, myself helping break diets now and
Right.
training people, it's very confusing because there's so much information out there. Most of it is misleading. There's that high carb, low carb theory. So we can get into that too, because as
Right.
an athlete, my carb load, which I would do, is going to be totally different than what would be allowed for a novice person that's working out.
True.
And they confuse that. Well, I can't eat a potato. No, you can eat a potato. You just can't eat the pizza and the subs with it.
Right.
And you can't eat the candy. So it's learning how. I guess all calories are not created equal.
No, they are not.
So if you eat a candy bar, it's not nutritious, number one. It doesn't do anything nutritionally for your body. And you've consumed probably 500 calories, where you could have eaten 500 calories of meat, vegetables, and fruit, and really fueled your body and fed your body. You'll have good hair, good skin, your sex is better. Everything is better if you eat better.
Right. It also helps you to think better.
And your clarity. I don't know why I had to come up with the sex part first.
Well,
But whatever.
I don't know what that says
my
about
priorities
you
are.
or me. But part of today, trying to thread the needle for me, because there's a lot of information, and I do want to get to the parts where you can actually train your brain to think correctly. Because everybody thinks nutrition's over here, and then working out is over here. To me, and you should ask me this question, because most people say dieting is so easy for me. Mm-hmm. And they just think that I'm some kind of alien, that it just happens. No, it doesn't just happen. The mind is a muscle. Like anything else, you can train it. Mm-hmm. Everything you do in your life is a neuroplasticity event. In other words, neurons that fire together, they wire together. Mm-hmm. So if you're the type of person that says, ooh, I'm a little stressed right now, and I need a comfort food, which could be a donut or chocolate, you are teaching yourself that is what you do when you're under stress. Mm-hmm. So you will get a dopamine response. You will get a reward for it. The dopamine makes you feel good. When your blood sugar goes up, your pancreas releases insulin. Insulin is a drug. Mm-hmm. So now we have two chemicals at work. We have insulin, which is a drug. So now when it knocks down your blood sugar, now you're going to be doing this wave. Mm-hmm. So now you're going to be somewhat at the mercy of your blood sugar levels.
Right.
Whereas the way I diet, I am never at the mercy of my blood sugar levels. Mm-hmm. So when I diet, what I'm trying to look for on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being starving, 10 being Thanksgiving Day dinner, full. Mm-hmm. I'm always at around a 4 or a 6. Why? Because I'm never really that hungry. I eat small meals throughout the day. I'm eating low glycemic carbs, mm-hmm. very fibrous foods, and with water. And so I can make really good decisions because I'm never that hungry. So if my amygdala, the part that deals with your survival, mm-hmm. that will try to trigger you, it's like, oh, it's time to eat right now. And it also, the hippocampus has memory. So it'll say, oh, that chocolate was really good. Why don't you get some of that? Mm-hmm. So it'll trigger dopamine to do that. I really don't deal with that. Because I'm on a low carb diet most of the time, I don't have those type of responses. But that.
Well, and that's true. And one of the other things is that what I hear a lot of is that when you're on a budget, you're on an income, and you're feeding a lot of kids, and you have a big family, I totally agree with the discipline part. I have to do it, at some level. I'm not as good as you are 90% of the time. I'm 90% of the time good, but I have my little treats here and there,
And you should.
And I'm fine with it. But I've heard that argument a lot when we're feeding our kids. We can't feed our kids nutritionally because it's costly to feed our children. So, I'm not giving people latitude, but when you're in a store and you look at a box of oatmeal that's, whatever it is, and then you can get 4 boxes of Cheerios for the same price and a gallon of milk.
Right, but that gets into a whole nother
Yeah.
discussion. If we're dealing with children, the diet is going to be different than it is for 40 to 50 to 60 to 70-year-old people who are mature. It's definitely different. You
Right.
have a little more latitude with young people, for sure. We have to go on a break already. So we'll be right back after these messages.
We are always obsessing over how many calories we are taking in every day. But do you really understand how many calories are really in the food that we eat? Let's break down some of our favorite foods with their real caloric intake. 200 calories, junk versus healthy food. Fast food. First up is junk food. For a pizza slice with pepperoni, you'll just eat half. You want a Big Mac? Then you'll be eating a little bit less with 1/3 portion to fit that meaty burger into your diet, since it has almost 600 calories. But if you want a plain hot dog without the condiments nor the toasty bun, you can eat a whole hot dog and a quarter bite just to make it to the 200 count. Fruits and veggies. Just wait and see how much healthy food you can eat for 200 calories. Cut out 2 apples for a good snack, or trade it for 2 medium bananas, 4 peaches, 40 cherries, or 100 grapes. You can have around 10 medium tomatoes, 50 baby carrots, but watch out as the calorie count will rise quickly with the fatty dip. Since celery has very few calories, you can honestly eat it all day since one strip has 1 calorie. But not all veggies are light, since one large white potato has almost 300 calories. Fried food. Even if it's not shocking to know that greasy food isn't good for you, you can only eat 4 small slices of bacon to stay under the 200 calorie mark. A leg of fried chicken barely reaches that amount too. 2 small kid-sized fries is all you can eat, not including the rest of the fast food. It's okay to add fried onions on top of your hot dog, but avoid using more than 100 grams or you'll be way over the 200 calories. Meats. A lean cut of steak is what you'll have to eat since it only contains 160 calories. 3 eggs are included in that as well, or you can trade it for 100 grams of Atlantic salmon or duck, 170 grams of turkey, 5 chicken wings, 29 shrimp, 2 pork cutlets, 2 chicken drumsticks, or 3/4 of an entire chicken breast. Pastries. Sorry, sweets fans. Keeping those 200 calories in a blueberry muffin means you can only eat half of it. An average piece of chocolate cake will have to be sliced in half. A very small croissant with nothing else on top of it will fit your 200 calorie fix. You will have to cut out 1/5 of your favorite glazed donut to enjoy it for breakfast. And what about that toasted plain bagel? You're going to have to leave a quarter behind so you only eat 200 calories. And that's not including the cream cheese. Nuts. You have been warned because you can only have less than 1.5 ounces of peanuts for a snack. About 28 almonds make up 200 calories, since each one contains 7 calories. Are you a fan of roasted pecans? Stick with an ounce, or 28 grams to keep up with the 200 calories. If you like eating peanut butter straight out of the jar, you're out of luck because you can only have 2 tablespoons. Processed food. 2.5 chocolate chip cookies is all you can eat for a light dessert. If you're feeling some Fruit Loop cereal without the milk, you can eat up to 51 grams in one sitting. Are you craving some gummy bears? You can only eat 18 of them. Feeling popcorn tonight? You'll have a quick bite after eating 2 ounces, or 57 grams if you don't include any extra butter on top. If you're in the mood for some Oscar Mayer bologna, 2 3/4 slices will be perfect for a classic sandwich. Dairy. While milk has lots of nutrients, drink 1.5 cups of whole milk to drink about 200 calories. But if you choose 1% milk, you can have 2 full cups. Don't eat a whole container or 8 ounces of yogurt if you don't want to go over 200 calories. But feel free to eat 2 containers of around the same size for Greek yogurt. And if you're feeling cheese for a quick snack, you're stuck with a small little cube, so enjoy it while it lasts. Fatty liquids. Adding 1 cream and sugar to your coffee allows you to have 2 normal-sized coffees a day. Do you want to turn your coffee to a specialty drink? Well, it turns out you'll drink 1/3 of it to keep your 200-calorie diet. You can only have a ½ liter of Coca-Cola if you want any soda. 2 glasses of wine fall under 200 calories, while a bottle and a quarter of beer is all you can drink. Liquids. A plain cup of brewed coffee only has 2 calories. is it really true? Can you imagine how much water and coffee it would take to reach 200 calories? Tea also has 2 calories. And depending on how you make your smoothie, you can have 2 lean smoothies that equal about 90 calories each. Hope you learned something from this video, and make sure to subscribe to the Taco channel.
Welcome to the From Grief to Relief show on WCOBM.com, and I am Joe Peroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini.
So today we are talking about nutrition and how it also affects the brain, and how the brain affects the body, and how the body affects the brain. I want to go back and forth with that. Most trainers will never tell you that. So that's one of the things that is my strength. So that's why I want to get to that. Here's something really interesting. A couple of times in the last, I want to say more than a couple of times, over the last, say, couple of years, I would get some inquiries on doing somebody's diet. Diets for me take honestly, about 30 minutes to write, less than that. And yet in this day and age with these trainers, they are writing up diets, and they charge people sometimes $1,000 to do a diet. And I might not get the job here or there because they're thinking that something's wrong. And I think that was really weird. So you're more into the younger people working out. Tell me what that's all about for a second, because it's not rocket science, actually.
No, it's not. A diet isn't rocket science, but the problem is that, like I said before, people want wiggle room, and when most people start out, competitors are different. I don't want to rule. I mean, that's something totally different because their dieting is slightly more structured and strict, I think. But my challenge has been with clients that, you know, they like to go out, they spend time with their families, they like to go out with their friends on the weekend. You know, they want to have that little space to be able to still enjoy, you know, their favorite foods. My challenge has been taking things out of their diet and trying to explain to them that you can't eat the sugars, you can't eat the processed foods. You have to eat healthy and clean while you're trying to lose weight and get in shape. You need to get all the crap out of your system and start replacing that with healthier foods. I think that there probably is some kind of withdrawal from the foods to some degree, especially sugar.
Right, true.
And then also allowing them to be able to have a cheat meal. But then, like you say, with the way the brain works, for me, a cheat meal, I could do a cheat meal, but I have to really discipline myself that that's one cheat meal a week. It's not a cheat meal every day, because eventually it starts to add up again. You start to put the weight on. And just because you're training doesn't mean...
Well, if you're doing it every day, it's not a treat anymore. It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. But I think easing people into that lifestyle change is what the challenge is because for me, I don't want somebody to run away before I even get started because I throw them a diet like I eat, and they're going to be like, oh my God, there's no way I can eat that way. You know, proteins and just protein and vegetables. And the competitors today, they do a lot of this. I can't wrap my head around it, but they'll say, well, if the macros, micros, they count into your diet. So a competition diet to me is hardcore. You're going to suffer a little bit. Okay, you're not going to be eating donuts and cookies and cakes and piling on all the junk to refeed your body. They talk about refeeds. To me, there's no nutritional value in that at all.
No.
So I tend to be like, if you want to get hungry and you want to have a cheat meal, you know, maybe have a sweet potato that hasn't been on your diet plan, or have more rice, or eat some more chicken, or get, you know, something like that. So I don't understand it. I don't understand the thought process with the training today, and especially the competition. I have to say, I was at the gym today, and we have a lot of USA competitors at our gym. We're going to have over 20-some people that are in the USAs this year, just, you know, supporting City Gym, which I think is amazing. My thing is I look at some of this, what's going on today in today's climate, and I'm kind of disappointed with the level. But again, that's another show that we were trying to talk about nutrition.
It's funny because we're in between break, and the one thing you said you didn't want to talk about was bodybuilding because not too many people relate. So let's switch. Let me make it the most basic. When we're doing a diet, protein.
Well, I guess what I was trying to get to before you just interrupted me was to say that anybody that works out in the gym with weights, or you do any type of training, you are a bodybuilder. I think that was the point I was trying to get to, because there seems to be a negativity around if you're a bodybuilder. Well, I'm not a bodybuilder, and I'm not going to eat like that, because I hear that too.
Right.
So I guess that's what I was trying to get to.
the basic definition, I would say, of a bodybuilder is just someone who's trying to improve themselves physically. That's how I would do it. If we get too far into leaning into like the hardcore bodybuilding stuff, probably not too many people will care. But the basic bodybuilding thing is, as I get older, as I age, and my muscles will get smaller, is there anything I can do to create more muscle, or to at least something that will be an anti-aging thing that I can stop the process or make myself better even as I get older? Can women reverse osteoporosis? These are the things that I think about when I think about bodybuilding. Some of the basics are this. If you have a gram of protein, it's 4 calories per gram. Very simple. Carbohydrates, same thing. It's 4 calories per gram. Fat is 9 calories per gram. So that is the basic part, what we call the macronutrients of how we make a diet. These days, people are talking about macro diets. Macro just means protein, carb, or fat. So when they say there's a macro diet, what they're saying is nothing, because it's a macro. Because all diets are macro diets. You can't have a diet without macros. It's either protein, carbs, or fats. That's the only way you can do it. So that, the whole name of that, let's just throw it out. This is as simple as I can make it. I got this bag over here. Let me reach off camera. This is as simple gets in terms of calories. This right here is 12 ounces of asparagus. This whole bag is only 100 calories. That's why it's suggested that you eat vegetables. So look how much that is. It's hard to eat that much, even in a day. Keep going. This is 16 ounces of spinach. This is also about 100 calories. That's it. You know how long it even takes to eat 100 calories worth of spinach? And think about how much iron you get. So now we have almost 2 pounds of food right here. Only about 200 calories. Now, as I reach into my bag over here, this little bar, which is, I don't want to tell you the name of it, but this is like a protein bar. This isn't even like a Snickers. This here is 230 calories, and that would take me, that's like 2 bites. So you can take 2 bites of this and have no actual micronutrients, right? No vitamins and minerals. Or you have all this. So you can eat this, and then you'll be hungry immediately. Here's another one that's even better. This is everybody's favorite. This bag of M&Ms right here, which seems ridiculously small to me, is 500 calories.
How many servings is in there? 1?
It says 2. That's the funny thing. It's like 280 calories, whatever it is, for once. Who's going to eat?
That's what people have to look at too.
Yeah, you're going to eat this, and then
the amount of servings, because I have people that will drink these drinks, these juice things, and then I'll say, "What is it?" And I look at the back of it, and it's 2 serving sizes. So it's like, no, you need to double that. And they're like, "Oh my God, I didn't know that." You need to read the serving size, if it's 1 serving size or 2.
Well, this is how they fool you too. Who's going to open this up and eat like just a few, and then
that bag is gone.
Then roll the bag up and then put it away? They can't do that. They're going to eat the whole bag. So what you're looking at here is just the very, very basics. And what I was trying to get at is, these trainers today that are like 22 years old, 23, they're selling people diets for like $1,000 to do this. This is this simple. I just ratted them out. Like, really, it doesn't take much to write a diet. It's actually pretty simple. I can do it live for you if you want, within 30 seconds, probably, if I really wanted to. So in review, because we need to go to a break, this is like 500 calories. This is over 200. And you could eat this in a matter of no time at all, but then you're still going to be hungry. And then you still haven't fed your muscles or your brain yet, or at least in a positive way. Or you could have like 2 pounds of vegetables. You could probably feed a family of 4. So when we talk about before, when you said that it's more expensive to feed people if you're going to feed them correctly, some of that's true for sure. But in another way, maybe not. You buy your kid a candy bar. How much was this? $4? How much was this? $2? Okay, so sometimes you get them for 2 for, you know. So this is like $3 worth of food. And this is like $6 worth of food. So the numbers just don't add up. So if you really want to be healthy, we should be going in this direction. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome to the From Grief to Relief show on WCOBM.com. I am Joe Peroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini.
So today we are talking about nutrition and how it affects the brain and body. So do you want to take over for a second?
Well, one of the things I want to mention is for all the ladies out there, a lot of times I hear ladies talk about they hardly eat. I hardly eat anything. My first meal is at 11 o'clock in the morning, and usually that first meal is yogurt and some granola. And yogurt is probably one of the worst things that you can eat. It's the little thing of Yoplait. There's like 300 calories in it. There's like 26 grams of sugar in it. And it does nothing nutritionally for your body, but spike your sugar levels. It makes you crave food. If you're going to eat yogurt, you want to eat the Greek yogurt, which is like, there's like 22 grams of protein in a serving there, and then you can add your own fruit. But I'm always telling them, you have to eat. You have to start your metabolism. And you should be eating 4 to 5 little meals a day. And then depending on their output, if you have a sedentary lifestyle, you're not going to be eating, hopefully, as many high carbs as somebody that maybe has a more active lifestyle.
Right, of course.
So that's one of the challenges I have with women is getting them to eat because they're so afraid. Oh my God, if I eat that much food, I'm going to get fat. No, you're getting fat by not eating because your metabolism slows down. They become skinny fats. And what I mean by that is you can look at their shapes and there's no shape. They're very skinny. There's no curvature to their arms or legs. They're just straight up and down. Men look similar to that too that don't eat enough protein. So that's my challenge a lot of times is trying to talk to women about you have to eat, but you have to eat healthy choices. Not pizza is not a choice. Chicken wings, alcohol is another thing that everybody loves to consume, and glasses and bottles. And again, we know that turns to sugar and it goes to fat and it goes right to our abdominal muscles. So
one of the diets that's out there is this HCG diet. And I hear a lot of women somehow are interested in doing that. Do you want to hear my thought on that right off? Okay, number one, whenever you talk about a diet, we already have a problem because you're already thinking about what you're restricting from you. I think of it totally the opposite. It's what I'm taking in. You just saw before, I had like 2 pounds of vegetables. Like, it's hard to eat that much. So I think about how much nutrition I'm getting, not what I'm not having.
And you just said something, made me think of something. I think when if and I'm going to say this to my clients, if when you're going to eat something and that you can look at that and fairly say, is this going to be nutritious to me or not? You've clearly made a choice.
Right.
If you decide to eat the candy bar instead of the oatmeal or whatever for breakfast with some egg whites or whatever your breakfast is going to be, you've clearly stopped and made a decision. You've decided this is not nutrition for me and I'm still going to eat it. So you have to know what the repercussions are to your body internally and physically by making a bad nutritional choice. Because people don't know calories. They honestly don't. They don't even, most times I don't think they keep track of their calories. And I've done a calorie count on some of my clients, and I'm talking 4,000 calories a day. And there's no way that they're exercising that off.
No, and it doesn't take much
And it
to
doesn't
eat
take a lot.
couple of thousand calories when you're eating
Yeah.
garbage. There's about 120 calories just in a tablespoon of oil. Think about that when you're eating a greasy hamburger or whatever. There's a lot of oil in that stuff. You could easily top out over 1,000, no problem at all. So before I eat, I think about things like this. Like, what I'm doing right now, is it helping me or hurting me to reach my goal? And that's really simple. And if your goal at that point is just to eat something that tastes good for 10 seconds, well, then have at it. It's not a problem. But if your goal is to improve your performance or improve the way you look, well, then you're going to have to make other choices.
Well, and the other thing is keeping to a clean diet. You reduce your chances of diabetes, heart disease, all of these. They've correlated. High sugar diets are the cause of heart attacks and clogged arteries. It's the sugar. It's not the fat that we've been told over and over. It's the sugar, once it hits our bloodstream, is what causes the diseases. So just taking out, high carb, sugary foods out of your diet will make a huge difference, and also make a huge difference in how you feel. You won't have the ups and the downs that where you feel really up and then you feel down, or you feel starving. Like you'll eat something like a candy bar, and an hour later you're hungry again.
You know, it's interesting, even in the medical community when they should know better. And just so you know, I find this really interesting. They have what they call diet doctors, right? There's so many of them out there. There is no such thing as a diet doctor. For a doctor to get an MD, the amount of schooling that they go through is tremendous. It's a lot. But do you know that they only have to take one class of nutrition? One class. How is that to make them a diet doctor, and how does that make them an expert? Like, you'll see a lot of people like, oh, well, talk to your doctor about your diet. Listen, the doctor's the last person I want to talk to about a diet, because all they really want to do is practice medicine. And they're going to make a lot of money based upon the fact that if you are unhealthy.
Right.
They could care less if you're healthy or not. They try to shove down the symptoms of a disease. They're not trying to prevent any diseases from happening. There's a big difference. In the medical community, if you're a diabetic, they will give you a high carbohydrate diet, which carbs, what they are is you have polysaccharides, you've got disaccharides and monosaccharides. They will break down, but it doesn't matter. The bottom line is that all carbs are sugar. And when you give a diabetic a diet that's like 80% sugar, you're killing them.
Well,
I don't even care if that's from the Mayo Clinic, because they still push that high carb diet, which is not, let's use the right word, it's a high sugar diet. And diabetes, again, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but it's true. Not for everybody, but for many people. Diabetes is not a real disease either. It's something that you can prevent having, number one. And number two, when you treat it with exercise and a correct diet, guess what? The diabetes goes away. So it's a voluntary disease. I see a lot of people that are diabetics, and my mother was one, just so you know, I'm not just ragging on everybody. It's just my mother, you know this. She would take a certain amount of insulin to be able to eat a bunch of bread. That's not what the insulin's for, right? You're not supposed to be using it so you could eat more garbage.
Well, and hypoglycemic too is very similar, and that happens when you don't eat. And this is the same thing I tell my clients. If you are eating small amounts of food during the day, low glycemic carbs, your rice, your potatoes, they're measured carbs, even fruits, vegetables are low carbs. All our vegetables are very low. You should not be having hypoglycemia.
No.
But the doctors tell them, eat some sugar. That'll give you a boost. You'll feel better. That's what one of my clients told me.
Well, of course you'll feel better.
But
for temporary.
10 seconds, yeah.
Temporary. So let me, real quick, the HCG diet, okay, it's HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin. It really comes from the urine of pregnant women, okay? Let's just get that on the table. That's what you're injecting. Okay, that's number one. Number two, does that have any effect on weight loss? Really negligible to nothing. But what you're doing is that on the HCG diet, then they give you the actual diet. It's a 500 calorie a day diet. Listen, we have a pug. Our pug, who weighs, 15 pounds, eats more than 500 calories a day.
She does not.
Probably.
Well, maybe, yeah, she does.
Well, she eats like
she
a
likes
cup of
her
rice.
food.
But what I'm saying is, it's ridiculous, okay? To eat 500 calories a day, it's a starvation diet under any circumstances.
So you're going to lose weight.
Yeah, that would be
It's not a
called
healthy
more
way.
like the Auschwitz diet. I mean, it's a concentration camp. You have to lose weight on that. But unfortunately, they also tell you this. You're going to have so little energy that you're not allowed to work out, which good for them because they count how many pounds they lose. But you're supposed to lose fat, not bone and muscle. So if you're not working out, you're going to lose muscle. And you're eating 500 calories, so you're sure to lose fat and muscle. None of that is healthy at all, but yet people are going everywhere to go to doctors. And once again, doctors know nothing about nutrition.
No.
One class out of all the years that they take, and then they act like they know something about it. They're killing people. They're not helping people. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to the From Grief to Relief show on WCOBM.com.
You did
Sometimes
that
I forget that.
I don't even want to tell you how I remember that name.
Yeah,
Don't.
you probably don't want to go there.
You don't want to go there.
So I'm Joe Peroni.
And I'm Heidi Mancini.
And we do have a question. Can a person put their body in a state of ketosis to burn unwanted body fat and still efficiently be in an anabolic state? That's a great question. That's somebody who knows what they're talking about right there. Luckily, I can answer that question. Let me backtrack for some people who don't know. Most people are on high carb diets. To me, that's a high sugar diet. All it does is it makes your body dependent upon insulin, which is a drug, and it makes your brain weak. It's very, very difficult to make very strong decisions about what foods you want to eat when your brain is going up and down and being triggered all the time. So what you really want to do, what I would go towards, I have this diet, I call it eating real food, but I guess, that's not a good marketing term. So people like to move towards like what they call a paleo diet,
Right.
something like that. What I would move towards is a high protein, higher fat, and drop your carbs. If your carbs are very low and you are training hard, what will happen is when the carbs are low, your body will start using fat as an energy source. When that happens, it means you're in ketosis. That is actually a very good thing. When you're in ketosis, your growth hormone is high, so you're in a much better position to lose unwanted body fat. So the other part of the question is, can you still be in an anabolic state? The answer is yes, provided you're eating enough calories to sustain it. You can have a great diet in terms of protein and just the right amount of fat and low carbs. But if you need, say, 3,000 calories a day to be in an anabolic state, and you're eating 2,400, you are still going to lose weight, or you're going to have trouble putting on muscle at the same time. So that's where the caveat is that you still need to go in with the calories in, calories out. You need enough calories to sustain the body and add just a little bit more in terms of muscle weight. In other words, be anabolic. But you're definitely better off not going with high carbs. What I mean by high carbs is most people consider high carbs to be the grains. Your cereals, your rice, your pasta, things like this. These aren't real foods. These are still processed foods. They are not terrible for you, but the reason why most people make the base of their diet this is because, number one, it's cheap, it's plentiful, it's part of our society. It's hard not to get around that. You sit down to eat dinner somewhere at a restaurant, they're going to give you bread. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, you're probably eating 100 grams of carbs right there. Your carbs should probably be somewhere around 50, depending on how much energy you're expending. So what do you think so far?
Well, I think that's a good explanation, and like you said, the calories in for the anabolic, you do have to make sure you're eating enough calories to sustain that. The next question we have from CT Man is, I eat clean. I find it hard to be 40% protein, 40% carbs, and 20% fat. I retain or even gain fat, especially in the midsection. It's frustrating. So I don't know what you would say about that. I would still say his carbs are still too high.
In terms of that, that's actually fairly close to what you would call a very balanced diet, which is good for the average person. If you're looking to get much better than that, we're looking for the best in human performance, we want to bring the protein higher, because the protein is there for the growth and repair of tissue. It speeds up the metabolism, and it also tempers your need to eat food. You just don't get hunger pains from it. So it's going to be much better off. When you're going to keep your carbs still at 40, that's not low. You're not going to get to ketosis at 40%. 40 is still pretty high. You want to drop that way down and bring the fat up. Because at that percentage-wise, you're still using all the carbs for your energy source, and your fat's just sitting there. Overall, too, I've heard this so many times. In terms of fiber, we keep hearing that you need to eat your grains, which is really interesting thing, because way back when they had the food pyramid, now they have the food plate. They talk about grains. Why is cereal a food group? Cereal is a man-made substance put in a box. How did that get on a food chart? I'll tell you, because the agriculture companies have a lot of money, and they pay a certain amount, and they get their picture on a plate or on the pyramid. It's not conducive to health at all.
One thing I want to mention about this question about the 40% protein, 40% carbs, and the 20% fat. With dieting, when we do diets for our clients, what we do is we try a diet for at least 3 weeks, and we see what the results are that the client's getting. And obviously, if they are still looking, I call it fluffy with my clients, so around the midsection especially, that's when I'll adjust their diets, and I will give them more protein, which is what you recommended,
Right.
and I will lower their carbohydrates, which would be the starches, lower them, and I'll up their vegetables, and I'll even tell them, eat another protein meal if you get, because then they start complaining, I'm starving like midday. Okay, well then let's put some more calories in there, but those calories need to be protein and vegetables, no carbs.
Right.
So that, I just wanted to explain that so that,
No, it's good. Like I showed you before of how much space
because just
vegetables
because you're
take
doing
up.
one thing, just because you're on a program and you're doing this doesn't mean it's a forever program. As your body adapts to that, your metabolism, your output, your exercise, whatever you're doing, then a lot of times we still have to go back in and we have to still keep tweaking the diet for each individual client as they progress. They're not on the same diet plan all the time. So there's nothing wrong with changing what you're doing to get the result that you need to get.
No, every 2 to 3 weeks
Yeah.
you need to reassess, to figure it out, because everybody's different.
Everybody is.
Yeah, everybody's different. With only like 3 minutes to go, I want to talk a little bit about the brain, because this is the part that you never get with trainers. That, again, people ask me, why is it so easy for me? Well, it's not. I'm human. But again, to me, the brain in action is called the mind. What controls the mind? Consciousness. So in order to be conscious, we have to have more awareness and know what's going on, so we can figure this stuff out, right? So we have a part of the brain called the amygdala. The amygdala really is just a survival mechanism. So it'll trigger you to have sex, it'll trigger you to eat, it'll trigger you if you're in danger somehow, it'll kick on that fight or flight response if somebody says some word to you or they actually move towards you in a threatening way. So what'll happen is most people tend to live off their amygdala, so to speak, because once the amygdala triggers you to get what you want, you get a dopamine response. This is the part where in drug addiction they say it's a disease. It's not a disease. This system gets triggered all the time for everything. And here it is with food. Let's say you eat chocolate. What it'll do is, most people do, it will trigger a dopamine response. And it says, wow, that was good. That made me feel good. So what it'll do is the amygdala does all this because next time you'll be more likely to eat it again. But here's the thing about dopamine that they don't tell you. It also releases before you do something to trigger you to do it. Because how would you know chocolate was good unless you ate it?
Right.
So that's what it is. So you can trigger your own dopamine by training your brain. We've got the prefrontal cortex, decision, thinking, and reasoning. That should always take over. Always. So what'll happen is I might have this thought like, oh yeah, I'd like to eat that candy, but right now I'd rather be leaner. When my prefrontal cortex takes over, I would actually get a dopamine response off of thinking about eating a steak. And it's because I've trained my brain. When I think about eating chocolate, I'm a man, right? So I think about being soft, being fat, being feminized, not being able to get it up. These are the things that chocolate and sugar and garbage and fat will do to a man. Right. So I put that on my brain as that's what I think about when I think about sugar and like what man? Like if you ever date a man and he goes, oh, I really want to eat some jelly beans, trust me, you're not going to have a good time in bed at all. But if it's a guy who says, I want to go out and get a steak, things will probably be pretty good.
CT Man bacon is not on the diet. It's not a healthy fat.
Oh, I know. Yeah, we don't have enough time. We're going to have to finish this next time. Okay. There's just so much I could talk about this all day. Anyway, we'll be back next week. Thanks for listening. I am Joe Peroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini.
Grief to Relief Show.
Thank you.